You're listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This is Josh Reeves, and I want to tell you about the midweek renewal service here at Mile High every Wednesday. It's all about spiritual practices. So we start with meditation at 6:40. There's a little talking, little music, some forgiveness practice, and then a prayer ritual as well. You're at home within an hour. A great way to spend and inspire yourself in the middle of the week.
And the message today is, what is greater than what was. Sometimes people ask in our church, what do we believe about the Holy Bible? And what we believe about the Holy Bible is that it is a sacred text. In fact, it's a library of sacred texts that tell us about the great mystical truths of Judaism and Christianity. What we don't do is worship the Bible here. And although it's very historical in many places, we don't always take it literally. We take it metaphorically, we take it metaphysically to improve our own lives. We also sometimes like to apply a historical or scholarly approach to the Bible. And it's interesting that many scholars point out that in that opening book of Genesis, there are actually two creation stories. The first is when God creates the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then rests. And in between there, he creates man and woman. It says women as well. And it says that they are made in the image and likeness of God. What a beautiful statement. We human beings are made in the image and likeness of God. In the next chapter, God takes some soil and breathes into it and creates the first man, Adam. And he takes a rib of Adam and creates the first woman, Eve. And they are both forbidden from eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And one must pause and wonder, why would they be forbidden from eating from that tree? And this is just my thought, but when we look back at how the gods existed back then, there were many of them, and they had this need to have power over humanity, but they also had this fear of humanity, of what they were potentially to become. In many of the old myths, the children of the gods actually overtake them. And so in the story, Eve, symbolizing the energy of awakening, the energy of birth, the energy of curiosity. She eats and she gets Adam to eat of this tree, and they are cast out of the garden. Not just because God is angry with them, but because God fears that they're going to eat from another tree. And this is a little talked about ending of the story, that God actually puts a guard with a flaming sword in front of the tree of eternal life. The gods would tell us that we should always know our limitations, and yet I would say as well, we should always be tempted by our possibility. We should always know our limitations, but we should always be tempted by our possibility. Our limitations we might define as what was. Our possibility, the divine idea for our life, we might define as what is. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, the last book he ever wrote was an epic poem with his brother Fenwick entitled The Voice Celestial. And he shares, some of you may remember this quote from Candlelight. "There is no need to leave the world of men, nor to retreat to some high cave or glen. Search deep within if you would truly find the springs of life in the eternal mind. Look in yourself and you at length shall view Creator God who hid himself in you. Within this precious bowl of alabaster is found the secret of the hidden master. Too long a dying world has longed to see the God that man and man alone can be." Pico della Mirandola, an Italian philosopher from the Middle Ages, had his own take on the creation story. He said that when God created Adam and Eve, he said to them that unlike every other living thing in the universe, I'm not going to plant a seed in you, but I'm going to give you seeds to sow for yourself. These seeds will cause your consciousness to live up to the level of plants. These seeds will cause you to live up to the level of an animal. These seeds you will sow, and they will have you live in accord with your human nature. And these seeds, if you plant them, will have you live up to your angelic potential. We have made you neither of heaven nor of earth, neither mortal nor immortal, so that you may, as the free and extraordinary shaper of yourself, fashion yourself in whatever form you prefer. In our Science of Mind teaching, we have an important concept that we call the mental equivalent. The mental equivalent. And it's a profound idea, but it's a little confusing because it has two different meanings. The first is what New Thought teacher Thomas Trord called a spiritual prototype. It's that divine idea for your life. It's that highest, most grand idea for your relationships. It's the divine idea for your prosperity, for your well-being, for everything in your life. And what is spiritual practice but downloading and embodying those divine ideas? The other definition of the mental equivalent is it's the current totality of your thinking about what is possible for you in your relationships, in your well-being, in your love of life, for your prosperity. The divine idea, the spiritual prototype, represents what is, and your current mental equivalent represents what was. And Holmes would tell us that it's not one single positive thought that sets the creative medium into motion. It's the consistency of your thinking that expands your mental equivalent so that it can expand and connect and embody more of this divine idea for your life. So the work of the Science of Mind and Spirit is identifying these mental equivalents and expanding them. Because if we don't identify them, we miss the possibilities of the divine ideas showing up in our lives all the time. In the 1990s, there was a very important spiritual work that was released by Peter and Bobby Farley. It was a film entitled Dumb and Dumber. And it stars two Sufi masters, I would call them, Harry and Lloyd. And the most famous scene is about possibility. Lloyd is in love with Mary, and he says to her, what are the chances of a boy like you and a girl like me getting together? And she responds, not good. Well, what do you say, maybe 1 in 100? She thinks about it for a second, and she says, more like 1 in a million. And Lloyd responds, so you're saying there's a chance? Things don't work out with Mary, and the fellas lose their motorcycle. And the very last scene of the movie, they're walking along the road, not knowing where they're going, and there's a giant bus that pulls up next to them. And on the side of the bus, it says, Hawaiian Tropic Bikini Tour. And the bus stops, and some beautiful women open the door, and they say, hey, we're looking for 2 guys to be our oil boys to help prepare us for the next 2 months for all of our performances and competitions. Harry says, you're in luck. There's a town just 2 miles that way. The girls look at them strangely, and the door closes, and the bus is starting to take off, and Lloyd grabs Harry and says, what are you thinking? And he runs, and he knocks on the doors of the bus, and it stops again, and the same beautiful girls open the door, and he says, I have to apologize for my friend. You see, the town is actually that way. the fellas are stuck there thinking, and Harry says to Lloyd, boy, 2 guys are going to get very lucky with this job. Our luck's going to come one day. We just have to keep our eyes open. And being perhaps 13 when I watched it, that bus is probably exactly what would have been on my vision board. So it spoke directly to me. But we have to think it may be happening all the time to all of us. That because our identifying ourselves with what was, because of the limitations we impose on ourselves because of what was, we miss out on the possibility of what is. And that is the crux of this philosophy. That if you're only living in what was, the creative possibilities of your life will be present, but not available to you. We have to step into what is in order to co-create our lives with this love intelligence. We have to step into what is if we're going to recognize a spirit that is greater than we are, that is always calling to us. To really achieve healing, we have to let go. We have to let go of what was and step more boldly into what is. I invite you this morning, right where you are right now, to look at your life. Look at your life. What is present for you right here and right now. The good stuff that's going on, the not so good stuff, the regret about yesterday, the excitement about tomorrow, the thought or the hurt that perhaps you haven't shared with anyone else. Look at your life from where you are and where you sit right now and ask yourself the following questions. Which is greater? What was and what has been in my life, or what is and what is to come in my life? There's no wrong answer to this question, and yet our ability to live and embrace what is the key to our spiritual growth and development in all things. Yesterday is not necessarily your friend, and tomorrow is not necessarily your enemy. But right now is the best companion you have for reflecting, embodying, opening up to those divine ideas. Don't let what was get in the way of what is and what is calling you forward. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, "How many of us go around clinging to the dead corpses of yesterday?" Emerson called it the monstrous corpse of memory. How many of us ruin the possibility of the freedom we might enjoy tomorrow by dragging the past into the present? All the good and all the beauty that existed yesterday is worthwhile today and will be worthwhile tomorrow. But we should deliberately disconnect ourselves from the lack, the limitation, the fear, and the morbidity of yesterday. Any resentment which causes the mind to continue to resist, any memory entertained by a spirit of unforgiveness is bad not only for the health, but for the morale of the individual. There's only one person that can keep you from the possibilities of what is, and that is yourself. Now, applying common sense, some of us might think that what was is greater than what is. We might say to ourselves, you know what? I'm pretty sure I have more days behind me than ahead of me. My body used to do what I wanted it to do a little bit better than it does now. There are those loved ones who I care for so dearly who are no longer with me, and life just isn't the same without them. And yet, if we ask ourselves this question, what is what was? I don't think it's necessarily the past. It's what we think about the past. It's our tunnel vision about the past. It's those stories we tell ourselves to prop up our sense of self-righteousness or sometimes even victimhood. It's the negative you-know-what that we bought into either from society or from what someone else told us. What is, what was, it's the way we think about our past. And when we really understand that memory can be something sacred, but that it's a function of the present moment, we can bring with us the best of what was into what is and leave the rest behind. Emerson also said, "Be not the slave of your own past. Plunge into the sublime seas. Dive deep and swim far, so you shall come back with self-respect, with new power, with an advanced experience that shall explain and overlook the old." Talking about mental equivalence, let's just pause for a moment and think about for you what is means. What is what is? Are you open to a greater possibility in every area of your life? The opportunity to become a better person, but also a better steward of your well-being in all ways. 3 ways to better step into what is, I want to share with you today. And the first is to have the courage to envision more. Have the courage to look at your life and envision more. Often when we're sharing here, we're thinking about those parts of our lives that feel down in the dumps and how to uplift them. I invite you to look at the areas that are going pretty darn good and to ask yourself, how could these go even better? Am I open to an even grander demonstration that is equal to or better than what has been? Talking with Roger Teal now many years ago about moving to Colorado and being part of a Mile High Church, he was certainly interviewing me, but I was interviewing him in a way too, and there was one thing in particular I was looking for. And as the spiritual leader of Mile High Church, did he believe that the future of Mile High Church was equal to or could be better than what was? And if that wasn't the case, I didn't want to come. I'd just be taking care of a place that was receding, changing. Now I know at Mile High Church we have a lot of work to do to be equal to or even better, but I'll tell you, my last day as minister is when I failed to believe that our future days aren't equal to or better than what has been. What does it mean to apply this to every area of your life? I don't want to go on too much of a church tangent here, but I want to share something we'll be doing at Mile High Church this year. Last week I shared with you our ongoing initiatives, things we build programming about all the time, but each year for several years we've picked a special initiative to focus classes on and programming. And this year the ministers have decided upon the initiative of the divine feminine. The divine feminine. It's not meant to be feminism. It's not meant to be in opposition to the divine masculine, but the purpose of which, for me, is to achieve the following 3 things. First of all, it's to recognize that in history, especially religious history and in these sacred texts, the voice of the feminine has often been diminished. That the teachings of the feminine have often been hidden. And some of the great female heroines of religious history have been miscast. Again, many people view Eve as bad, as sinful, as the person who made all of this horrible stuff happen for us, called humanity. For me, she's the great heroine. She utilizes the power of awakening. It is through the feminine principle that we wake up to the truth of our humanity and seek to express in greater and greater things. I'm so grateful to Zamira and Andrew and Dodie and all these folks who created this incredible display wall. Please check it out before you leave. That expresses some of the great female mystics. The second purpose for me of the initiative is to highlight female voices. Not just in the United States, but around the world. I once read something that said something to the effect of the 19th century was very much about overcoming slavery. And the 20th century was very much about overcoming authoritarianism. The 21st century may very much be about equal gender rights across the entire world, and what that can do to uplift not just the feminine, but the masculine and everything together. And that's the last purpose of this, The final purpose for me of the initiative, and our female ministers are going to teach a class on female mystics. Do you love that I'm mansplaining the divine feminine to you this morning? The last is the recognition that we all live at our best when we balance the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves so that we can live in greater harmony, that we can live with compassionate power, an awakening clarity, and a courageous caring in our lives. It harkens back to some words that Jesus said way back in the gospel according to Thomas. He said, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner as the outer, and the upper as the lower, and when you make the male and the female into a single one, so that the male shall not be male, and the female shall not be female, then you will enter the kingdom of heaven. So embrace what is by having the courage to open up to a greater vision in every area of your life. Second, assess what you are affirming. I give you the charge today to sometime today or sometime this week, take out a piece of paper and write down 10 of the most important things to you. Could be marriage, parenthood, health and well-being, success and career, your car, whatever you want it to be. And you remember, I'm sorry for bringing algebra into church, but do you remember those little signs, the greater than or the less than? Just write under each one what was and what is, and identify from your consciousness right now where what was greater and what is was greater. And what I challenge you to look at is when the what was's outweigh the what is's, that you're out of touch with the creative medium and power that wants to have its way with your life, that wants to call a new way of being and a new living forward. You are rejecting that principle that says life is not about comfort and ease. It's about meaningful growth and learning to be more authentic in every aspect of our lives. I like what Steve Jobs said. He said, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no, for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. When we're willing to embrace that what is greater than what was, we can pick up that guitar, that paintbrush, that pen, and we can say, I'm going to create something equal to or better than anything I've created in the past. We can embody a new level of transparency and authenticity to perhaps create transformation in our careers and work situations. You can look into the eyes of your spouse and say, I love you more today than yesterday, sweetheart, but not as much as tomorrow. It takes courage to boldly step into what is, and it takes honest self-assessment. So catch it and be willing to step into that new way of being. Lastly, allow what is to work for you. Allow what is to work for you. The more we're engaged with what is, the more real it becomes to our consciousness, and the more it creates a momentum for us that leads us into grander and grander things. Throughout this series, I've been sharing and encouraging you to articulate different kinds of affirmations. We talked about the creative affirmation, which is an affirmation you can say each morning in your prayer time and think of the divine and apply it to the different areas of your life during the day. We spoke about an anchoring affirmation, something you can say when you're freaked out to call yourself back to center. And today I want to encourage you to articulate a celebration affirmation. A celebration affirmation is something that we affirm to celebrate something good that has just taken place in our lives, and to affirm that something better than that will take place as well. It could be, oh yeah. It could be, there's more where that came from. It could be, my cup runneth over. It could be, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. See, one of the keys to what is when we receive something good in our lives, one, if we don't celebrate it, we don't truly embody it. And two, if we don't affirm that this good isn't just complete in that moment, but that there's not more to come, we stop that momentum. So the next time something good happens to you, articulate that affirmation, honor it, accept it, embody it, and yet know there's even more to come. When we do this, we live in accordance with what is, we free ourselves more and more from the clutches of what was, and we live the life that we are meant to live. As we move into prayer, I want to share a final reading from Ernest Holmes, a prayer he called, "My own shall come to me. From far and near my own shall come to me. Even now it is coming to me, and I receive it. My own is now manifesting itself to me, and I see and know its presence. My own shall know and respond to me. My own cannot be kept from me, neither can I keep my good away from me. I receive my good now. My own shall find me no matter where I go. It will follow and claim me. I cannot hide myself from my own. My own shall come to me even though I deny it, for there is nothing in me that can hinder it from entering and taking possession of my soul. My own is now expressed." And just moving into prayer, inviting any of our incredible prayer practitioners to stand who will be available to do an affirmative prayer with you after service at the front of our stage. I just invite us in this prayerful moment to imagine that our good is a breathing, living, thriving, active thing. That it is as real as our body, as real as our to-do list, as real as our own spirit and our own soul. This good exists in, through, and around us as much as any possibility. And as we consciously today affirm our relationship with this greater good, we know that this good is grounded not in what was, but what is right here and right now. Spirit, I am open to receiving the highest and best good for my life, for my relationships, for my work, for my introspection, even my grief and pain, and places where I do not feel whole are uplifted by this good. This good of God, this divine idea, I know expresses itself in each and every one of our lives as we allow our current mental equivalent to expand beyond the tired stories of yesterday to step into the fullness of what is. Life no longer becomes an experience, but a grand adventure that we co-create and co-author with a divine source, ever available, singing its song in our heart right here and right now. May we embrace it, may we live it, may we enjoy it. Let it be and let it become, and so it is. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.